Good evening, adventurers, and welcome back to the Maze. I am the Master of Mazes. With me is the Apprentice, as always.
What up?
This is MazeCast episode number 15, and we've got some things to jump into. It's going to be a little shorter form tonight because we'll tell you here in just a minute. So, what's new at the Maze? We just had our Kingdom of Keshinar campaign, Session 0, last Friday. So, a week ago from tonight. We are recording on Friday the 9th of January 2026. We had our first session last week. We had a great game. I have been pretty excited about the Kingdom of Keshinar. That is a Kickstarter that I backed earlier last year. And I got all the PDFs that they have released so far. They are still working on the setting book and a few other things, but I got enough information along with an adventure module that I started running my players through. So we have a complete recap of that up over at our website, and there will be a link down here in the description for you guys to go over and head over and take a look at that. It's pretty fun reading. I got pretty detailed on it, so it's going to be split up into two. So the first half is up now. The second half will be going up this weekend. So you guys will have something to read next week. And then we have our second session with them next Friday, the 16th, so that we can go ahead and jump right into session 1 because we left them off in a pretty good place last time. So pretty exciting things there. Kingdom of Keshinar is an Egyptian setting for 5e. It's a lot of fun, so I suggest you guys check it out. I think it's available for pre-order right now. Speaking of games, Session 0 is tonight. Immediately following this podcast, both Stephen and I will be jumping on with a couple of friends of ours, Josh and Nate, who I've known Nate for years. Josh is a friend of Stephen's, who I've just met. He's never played Dungeons & Dragons before, and they've decided they want to try their hands at D&D 5e. So tonight we will have the Master and Apprentice campaign, Session 0, and it's going to be a Forgotten Realms session 5e game, and it's going to be a lot of fun. So we will have a recap of that for you guys up on the website to read next week, and we will also have some clips and some videos and things like that we'll be sharing with you as things kind of progress and move along. So look forward to those. Right now we've got a bunch of shorts up on our YouTube channel for some miniatures that have been painted for me by my wife. My wife asked me what I wanted for Christmas. I said, you know what? I have a bucket load, and by bucket, I mean like a truckload of unpainted miniatures. So pick me out some miniatures, paint them for me. I would love to have some more painted miniatures on my table. So she got started, got her some army paints and some speed paints, and she went crazy. I was only supposed to get about 4 or 5 miniatures. I think she's about 15 miniatures in now. So we have a red slod, a iron golem, we have a troll, and we have an owlbear that she's done up for me so far that we've posted up over on YouTube on our shorts video list. Check those out. A couple of those are, one of them's over the Bone Claw is over 2,000 views right now. I think our troll's up over 1,500. So some great miniature painting by my wife. Check that out. She will be offering her painting services pretty soon on her website, and once she does, we'll have a link for that for you guys as well if you're interested. But let's jump into some TTRPG and TCG news. First of all, we want to say rest in peace to Tim Kask. Tim Kask passed away recently. For those of you who aren't familiar, Tim was the first official employee at TSR back in the day. He started at TSR in 1975. He passed away at the age of 76 recently. He was an early playtester for TSR, and he was also most notably the first editor for Dragon Magazine. So one of his characters that he played back in the day was a character by the name of Kwalish. Some of you who are big-time D&D fans will recognize the name Kwalish because that character was immortalized for him when they made the Apparatus of Kwalish, which was in the first edition game and has been, I think, in every subsequent game since, where it's an artifact that you can actually find. So we'll have a link to the article about Tim's passing, and just the best to his family and everybody who knew him. So, in more lighthearted news, James Haeck, sorry, I don't know him that well, call him Jim. James Haeck from the Eldritch Lore Podcast has announced on the last week's episode of the podcast that he was going to be going over to a new job, and that new job will be as senior D&D game designer with WoTC. Some of you may know James Haeck's work. He was co-writer for Waterdeep Dragon Heist. He was co-writer on Baldur's Gate Descent into Avernus, And most recently, he's been working at Ghostfire Games, helping them with some of their games and things of that nature. Great guy, knows a lot about the game, knows a lot about TTRPGs in general. So WoTC's really picked up a great asset in James. We wish him the best of luck. Unfortunately, the Eldritch Lore Podcast is going to try to find a permanent fit for his role. So, and that after he had just made the New Year's resolution that he wouldn't miss any more broadcasts for the podcast. So, he's going to miss them all. So, we wanted to talk a little bit about Daggerheart. Daggerheart is a hot button topic in the community. Steven decided he was going to talk about this. So I'm going to let him lead off and then I'll jump in.
Well, it's just an article that popped up on my feed. Apparently, Darrington Press is claiming that they printed what they thought was about a year's worth, give or take, of players' handbooks. And in 2 weeks, they sold all of them, claiming their sales projections were beaten by 2,500%.
That's amazing.
That's amazing. And Dad and I were kind of talking about this offline, like, how much is that as actual players versus people that are just Critical Role fans. To be honest, there's no way to know, but one thing we do know is that's a lot of money. So,
well, I mean, we could post up a poll on our website, but I mean, we don't get enough traffic for that poll to really get a good sampling. But there have been a couple game samples I've heard up about people. When you go out and you buy a book, you run out, you buy a book. What do you do with that book? Are you buying the book because you plan to play it? Are you buying the book because you're picking and choosing from it rules you want to add to your own homebrew?
yeah.
Are you getting it for the art? Are you getting it to support the writers? Why are you getting that book? And I'll have to find the article and post that up for you guys. There was a great article by a content creator on YouTube where he polled his followers, and he's got, I think, over 200,000 followers on Facebook. And I'm sorry, YouTube, not Facebook. And he said about 50% of the people polled stated they bought the book because they just wanted to collect it.
Oh, I was about to say, I mean, for me, I could just tell you, for me personally, almost all the books I buy are what I call RDRs, which it's not Red Dead Redemption, even though I love that game. It's a rainy day read, right? So you're sitting at the house, you got the TV on, you're like, you know what? I mean, I can count on one hand how many times I've read the Monster Manual for actually playing the game, and probably when I was a kid. And then when I was playing Baldur's Gate and I would see something and go, what the hell's that thing? And I would pull out the Monster Manual and read it. Most of the time, it's like I'm sitting around, I'm working at home, I'm burned out, I whip out a book, check out some cool art, So a lot of this is probably that. I'd say 50%, to me personally, sounds a little low. I think it's like 60, 70% of people probably buy this book because they like the art, they want to check it out, they want to read about a monster here and there, and it sits on a shelf 99% of the time.
I would say that number's probably... I would say it's realistic. I don't know accuracy. Who knows? I know that on my bookshelf alone, I've got 2 built-in bookshelves and 3 turnstile bookshelves that are 6 feet tall, and I literally have hundreds of TTRPG role-playing books.
Sure.
I've got one that sticks out in particular that I have thumbed through once. I think I've read maybe 3 chapters in and put it down and haven't touched it in years. Is the Wheel of Time role-playing game. Based on the Robert Jordan series.
Which is now a show.
I loved well, the show was...
I haven't seen it.
We're not even going to talk about it. Don't. If you like the books, don't see the series.
Books are good.
The books were great. I stopped reading them at book 8 or 9 because it just seemed to kind of have lost its way. But the first 5 or 6 books were amazing. And I thought, perfect. Somebody's done a role-playing game set in the Wheel of Time series. But I couldn't find anybody who wanted to play it. So it has sat on my shelf for years. I probably at some point need to sell it or give it away, but it's still sitting out there. And I have books like that. The One Ring. I bought the One Ring books. I'm a big Lord of the Rings fan. I've got the Lord of the Ring. I got the One Ring core rule book, and I've also got the Moria source book for the One Ring. I've read through them, kind of skimmed through them for the most part. Art is beautiful. I'm just a little intimidated about following in the footsteps of the professor or trying to set a game in his world and make it
that's a daunting task for sure.
Yeah, but I mean, I bought the book because I wanted the book. I collected it, so I would say probably half of the books I have on my shelf right now are books I picked up because I was interested. I enjoyed the material. I wanted to look through the art, or I wanted to read the lore, or what have you. And I've never played a game in them.
Yeah, and that's you, right? So like you do this, like let's call it more professionally than most, right? You get paid to run games. So like if
Right.
you're only reading half of them, the average person
Mm-hmm.
is only reading 10% of them. I mean,
Maybe.
so it's either way, congratulations to them. That's a huge accomplishment.
Congratulations to Darrington Press.
Yeah,
I
that's
mean,
a huge
kudos to
accomplishment.
them.
Yeah,
It's a huge
regardless.
accomplishment.
Yeah, regardless of why people are buying it, they're buying it, which is all that really
I mean,
matters.
is it
Um,
critters driving that number? Maybe, but either
hey,
way, success is
these people
success.
are
Dollar
yeah,
signs and dollar signs.
they're
So
critters for a reason.
congratulations,
They're
guys.
critters for a reason. Those are legit fans. They didn't fake their way in. They came into a
No.
relatively saturated, maybe competitive market. With Pathfinder and D&D already there, and like I know Critical Role is obviously famous, but to set out on their own, make their own setting, and then sell the book, um, and hit profit margins like that is huge. So,
That's huge.
and also like I mean I think we've covered this, but their campaign 4 that they're currently playing, uh, that's not a Daggerheart campaign at all. That's still a
No,
D&D game.
D&D.
So they
D&D's
sold they
5e.
sold this amount of books while their live show is promoting Dungeons and Dragons. So that's
Right.
another thing that I don't think a lot of people have talked about. Is that they're selling this just
Yeah.
straight up. Yeah, I mean, but they're selling this kind of, they're selling their own source material and doing this well, while also like their main how people interact with Critical Role mainly is a
Still
live
playing
stream.
watching games.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so that's something that's pretty interesting. So good on
Yeah.
them. The
Good on
next
them.
article I had was it's a little bit of a fun one here.
Yeah.
GameRant posted a tier list. Well, I'll say I don't know whose tier list this is. I'm assuming it's a GameRant writer, but
That or it was probably something. Maybe they did a poll on it. I don't think they really state how they got it.
I read through it a couple times. I didn't see anyone's name on it, but I will say they posted a level 20 tier list. So they basically took every class in Dungeons and Dragons. When they hit level 20, they ranked them on their criteria, which seems like just effectiveness and how well they can handle situations in the game.
Right.
And I thought it'd be fun to just kind of read through these with Dad and say like, hey, do you agree with this one or not?
Mm-hmm.
And again, this is not us picking apart their tier list. It's just this is my dad's experience, what he feels is warranted as whatever tier. So they have S tier, level 20
SP
Bard,
top tier.
top tier.
Yep.
So Bard, Paladin, Sorcerer, Wizard. Are there any in there that you agree with?
I definitely agree with Paladin.
Okay.
The reason I agree with Paladin is the 2014 Paladin, with his ability to smite. He is a tank. He is a frontline striker. He has a little bit of a healing pool, so he can be a little bit of a utilitarian. He can help get other characters up if need be. Keep himself in a fight if he has to. Paladin definitely S tier, especially when you consider like Oathbreaker Paladins and the Path of Vengeance Paladin. Path of Vengeance is my personal favorite. I've played one in a campaign before to great success. Bards, I would say bards have a lot of flexibility. The right bard can definitely get you into an S tier ranking.
So
Bards
just to make sure I
overall,
understand, Bard is basically a support aura class, right? Like they are
yeah, it's a
mainly
support
around
class.
support. Okay.
Primarily support class. They are great at that role. They can be kind of strikers, but I don't know that I would put them, if we're taking bards overall, I don't know that I'd put them in S. I'd probably put them in A. Sorcerer, same thing. Sorcerers are glass cannons. They have to go off of spell slots, but they gain them back pretty quickly. So sorcerers, I don't think I put them S. I put them A. Wizard definitely S. A wizard played properly, great utility ability, great spells, area effect spells, direct fire spells. A wizard, if you put it in the hands of the right player, definitely an S tier character.
Let me ask you this, because this is kind of something I feel like D&D it does differently than a lot of fantasy. A lot of fantasy, a sorcerer and a wizard is the same thing. So what distinguishes the two in D&D?
So sorcerers get their magic from blood,
And
basically
it's
their
innate.
heritage.
It's
So
innate magic.
it's an innate ability,
Okay.
right?
Okay.
Wizards have to study.
Right.
So wizards spend a lot of their time studying. They're bound to a spell book or scrolls or what have you.
Gotcha.
But they have a lot more flexibility than your sorcerer does.
Yeah, I'll tell you, like, in Boulder, again, most of my knowledge will come from Baldur's Gate 3, and I sometimes that makes me feel like that's not real Dungeons and Dragons knowledge, but at the same time, it is. Like, it literally is.
It is. Yeah, it is.
I know there's a lot of, so in Baldur's Gate, you find scrolls which allow you to cast spells.
Right.
Usually, those are really strong, but they require channel time and they're harder to cast and stuff. Whereas a lot of the innate sorceries were really quick and kind of like how I imagine a sorcerer and a wizard would play out, where a wizard's kind of more like a nuker style character, and then a sorcerer can kind of do other things. But there's a give and take to either one of those.
Yeah, there really is. And it's going to depend on your player and the situation, too. I don't really think there's any such thing as a bad character class if you play it correctly and in the right situation. Any
I agree.
character can be a good character.
And this tier list, I think
class.
this tier list is more indicative of like if you were to give somebody with zero experience a character, like which one would they succeed with? Because I think any character in a TTRPG setting can excel if played right and with some knowledge.
Yep.
And with a DM that's just not just trying to like ruin your night. I think you can basically get away with any of them.
Right.
So down to A tier.
Yep.
We've got cleric, druid, fighter, monk. I will say,
I like.
When did druid and monk come
clerics.
into the game?
I like clerics. Clerics, I think, should be S tier. If you look at like a light cleric or a twilight cleric, they're powerful. Clerics overall, I think, should be S tier because clerics, like you get a cleric of war, they're a striker, but they also have access to divine magic. They're like a ramped up paladin. 2014 they didn't have smite, but now with 2024 rules, clerics can now use a smite spell. So I think
what distinguishes them from paladin then?
Yeah, well, and the thing is it was very unique to paladin. It made them a divine holy warrior. 2024 gave smite to basically almost all spellcasters, which I think kind of castrates the paladin. It takes away that one flavor aspect to that character class that made them special and spread it out to everybody. And I think that was a big mistake.
Yeah.
Not my game, but that's why I don't play 2024 rules. I think there's a lot of things 2024 that are broken.
Dungeons & Dragons is so interesting because I feel like they make the same mistakes. So World of Warcraft is another huge game that I'm sure everyone that plays D&D probably knows about. And it's so funny to me to hear like your opinion about this kind of stuff because World of Warcraft made the same mistakes. Like people, there's to the point that there's now even two versions of World of Warcraft you can play. You can play modern retail World of Warcraft, and then there's also a classic World of Warcraft, which is like an older version of the game, and more people play the classic version. And after they swore up and down, like it's a famous clip where Blizzard's like, somebody at BlizzCon is like, hey, are you ever going to have a server that's like the old version of the game? And they're like, oh, you think you want that, but you don't. It's a famous clip. Everyone's seen it. And that guy was like, lo and behold, they made a classic server, and it's now more popular than the main game. And it's because every class has like an identity in the game. Where like if you play a warlock or you play a priest or even when you spec, like if you're playing a priest and you go disciple priest, holy priest, whatever, that character does something better than every other spec in the game. And what's annoying is when a game is like, oh well, we don't like that guy can do X and he can't do Y, so we're gonna make everyone be able to do X and Y. Well, now none of the classes are special because every class can do everything. Like there needs to be that flavor where it's like a warlock should do more damage over time with curses, and a wizard should be an elemental damage wizard. You know, there should be identity there. And it's like too much player like freedom, like letting the player kind of just have their cake, eat it too, and then also own the cake shop is like, you think the players think that sounds good to them. Oh wow, I'm never, this is a great deal for me. And then I promise down the road they're going to be like, well, this isn't as much fun. Like I wish there was some adversity here for me to overcome, because that is the whole point.
Well, there's popularity to D&D 5e. I don't know how popular the 2024 books are. I know they sold pretty well supposedly, though I don't think anybody's ever put up real numbers. I think WoTC's just said it sold well. And I know Jill Langello said before she left WoTC that it had sold more books in the first 60 days or something than the 2014 rule book sold supposedly in like 6 months. Is that real? I don't know. I don't think they ever provided any kind of receipts to show that was a legitimate number.
Receipts, not real, man.
Yeah, but that being said, there is a reason that there are so many OSR games out there. That there's games like Shadow Dark that took D&D and took it back to a simpler time. Took it back to make it not so crunchy, make it a little rules light. There's a game for everybody. And if crunch is your bag, play 2024. More power to you.
Or Pathfinder.
Yeah. Um, I think that, I think that taking a character and taking what makes that character special or stand out, and then basically distributing that ability to everybody, just then what's the use of a paladin?
Yeah, you've undermined
And
yourself. Like you
yeah,
literally. And
I mean,
so
yeah, he's got paths, and the paths give him some different abilities, but I mean, smite was the big thing, and the big joke at the game table is, paladins don't have spell slots; they have smite slots. Well,
yeah,
yeah, that's the most useful spell they have access to.
and that's their but that's
So,
their identity though. Like I
right.
mean, you take that away and you give it to a cleric. It's like okay, well, oh, we gave these other things to paladin. Well, okay, like I don't know. But
Yeah.
I'm not.
Well,
This is
I
not
would.
just me harping on WoTC.
Yeah.
Everyone does it. And video
Everybody
games
does
do
it.
it. And I just wish they were more. Just let a class be the best healer. Just
Yeah.
let a class be the best at something, and then balance
So
that. Okay, if the cleric's the best at this, make the paladin the best at this, or make the ranger the best at this, and it works.
yeah. So as A tier goes, I'd probably switch the cleric and the bard.
Sure.
Put cleric in S tier. Put bard down to A tier.
Right.
Druids have got some great utility abilities,
Hmm.
shape shifting ability, animal companions, things like that. I think A tier is definitely good. Fighter definitely. Monk. Mm, they reworked the monk. Before the monk was not great. I would have put monk B tier.
Uh,
Um, but with 2024 rules, they've kind of added some bite to him. So I think maybe he goes in A tier
when
now.
did my knowledge is pretty old now. When did druid and monk come into the game?
Druid and Monk. Druid came in second edition.
So they were in there when
Monk,
I played. I
yeah,
just
I
don't
think
remember it.
Monk was. I'm not certain because I never played
I
third
don't,
edition.
yeah, I don't
Or
remember
3.5.
Monk, and I think when I
I
played as a
played.
kid, it was
I
second
played
edition.
first edition. I played first edition. I played basic. I played expert. I played second edition. Then I jumped to fifth because there was a few years where
Well,
we didn't play because we didn't have a game group.
yeah.
Um, I never played third edition. I didn't play 3.5. I didn't play four.
When I was a kid, was
Um,
it second edition?
yeah, second edition is what you guys played.
Okay,
So yeah, there was no monks then,
I
but
didn't think
there
so.
was actually there were monks. Actually, that's not true. They did make a monk handbook in second edition, but that was kind of towards the end of it. It wasn't
Sure,
in the player's handbook.
it was a DLC.
Yeah, and it
Um,
was actually, I believe, in first edition they did the Caricature series, where they had a setting that was kind of like feudal Japan, kind of an
sure,
Asian setting.
yeah.
I've got the book in there on my shelf, and they introduced the ninja, the samurai, the monk, some other things. So it was around at the tail end of first edition, going into second edition. So
It just, I
um,
don't know. Like I felt the same way in WoW when they added a monk. I was like, this doesn't feel like thematically the same, but
yeah,
it's a lot of people like it. So,
yeah.
B tier is artificer, scion, and warlock. I have no idea what an artificer or a scion
So
is.
so artificer is just like the picture you see there in the article. It's
Mechanical
basically a
sorcerer.
guy. He's a mechanical wizard. So they
Hmm.
basically have the ability to craft items, make items, up to and including magic items. They can also have some access to certain magics that they can pick up. I've never had anybody offer to play one in my game. I've read up on it. I wasn't really super enthused with the artificer class. I understand with 2024 they've kind of updated it, given it a little bit more punch. The thing I don't like about it is everybody wants to build a suit of Iron Man armor and fly around and be an Iron Man.
That's cringe.
And I'm like, that's fine if you want to play like a fantasy game where that's what you could do. Like Eberron. Eberron is a setting where you have that sort of thing. You
Hmm.
have power armor. You have robots. You have souls that are put into automatons so they can be war machines.
Right.
If that's what you want to play, that's great. I don't play artificers at my table.
Hmm.
I've never had anybody ask me to play it. If they did, we'd sit down and talk about it, and I'd probably put
It,
some limitations on it.
if I didn't already have a character like kind of like theory crafted up that you've already looked at and everything, I would try it just because you've never had somebody do it, and that makes me want to
Right.
do it. They sound like a Dwemer to me. They sound like D&D's version of
Yeah,
a Dwemer,
kind of.
which is cool.
Scion is new. That's new to 2024. They put that out in a Unearthed Arcana recently. That's an interesting class. I would say B tier is probably solid because I've never played one. So I would put it in B just to be safe. I mean, it's got some potential, I think.
Telekinesis,
Warlock, definitely.
telepathy, body mutation, and teleportation is a scion. That's what they say in the
Yep,
article.
yep. And then Warlock I think is great. I like the flavor of a
Me
Warlock.
too.
You're basically somebody who enters into a pact with another being,
Hmm.
normally more powerful. Most people think demons are celestials. That's options, but I've seen people like Jester from Critical Role Season 2. She was actually, her patron was a fae. She worshipped him as a god, so she was supposedly a druid, but I mean, she was basically kind of in a pact with a fae creature.
Let me ask you this: would you consider
Yeah.
Percy from Critical Role Season 1 a warlock because he had a pact?
Yes.
So like thematically, so I always wondered that because I try to fit the Critical Role characters into like what they actually would be. And I remember talking, it might have been Josh or Morgan, but they were like, what class? They thought, I mean, Percy's a cool ass character. If you're looking from the outside in, he was a badass, And I was like, to me, it was like he's a warlock with a gun. That's what he was.
Yeah, he had a couple levels in warlock. Then he was an artificer because he could build guns and build bombs and stuff like that. So
that character
was
a warlock. Badass. God, he was awesome.
Cool. I loved him. Talus and Joffrey did a great job with it, so I loved his character.
It was that character won me over, like in terms of like, that's part of why like I got back into this space in general is because I saw Vox Machina Season 1 and was like, this is awesome. Like this is the kind of shit that I think people should see. When a lot of people see like, oh, Dungeons and Dragons, they think like, and I like the retro stuff now. Don't get me wrong, but people that are in their 20s. Vox Machina is what's going to bring them into this kind of stuff because they're going to see a character like Percy and go, wait, I don't have to just be some guy with a sword. I can be some badass guy. Yeah, man.
Yeah. Now, I don't allow guns at my table. The reason I don't allow guns at my table is because guns can break
changes a lot. Yeah, changes a lot.
It changes a lot. Because if you've got a gun and you're running around and you're one person with a gun, anybody in their right mind who runs any sort of an organization, Thieves Guild, a local government, a king or something like that, they're going to see the potential that gun has and they're going to want that technology. So
yeah, I think to flavor that, you could be the same character with like a dual set of hand crossbows or something. And it's like the same effect, right? Like it's the same.
Basically. Now, here's where I have issues: the C tier rank.
It's pretty tough. Pretty tough.
Barbarian and Rogue. Barbarians are great damage soakers. They can get into the front line. They rage, so they automatically get resistance to damage. They get additional ability to strike, do more damage. So they are just damage sponge and damage dealers. I think C tier is probably. I don't think that's fair, especially when you look at like some of the paths that you can choose as a barbarian that can kind of not only give it great flavor, but can give it some great potential at a table.
Mm-hmm.
Rogue, I definitely don't understand Rogue in C tier. Maybe that's a 2024 thing, and I'm not familiar with the rules. 2014 Rogue, broken as hell. Broken.
Hell yeah, that's my character. Hell yeah.
That's your character tonight.
Hell yeah.
They can do a lot of damage in the right situation, and I still think it's broken that they can evade a fireball. I think that's the most broken thing I've ever heard.
I think perfectly balanced. Honestly, the greatest perk of all time. Really, honestly.
So there's some good flavor to. I don't see it.
What's going to be funny is you just said all that about a rogue, about doing all this damage and doing all this shit. Now I'm going to play a support rogue in our campaign.
That's going to be interesting.
I'm going to try. I'm really going to try because I crave nonsense. So that's
now me. Here is my big issue. D tier, there's one class.
This made me mad, bro. This made me mad.
The Ranger.
Yeah.
And now,
Slander.
on a personal note, my favorite character of all time, Dan Talus Willowwood, 2nd edition Ranger. Mm-hmm. I loved my character. Mm-hmm. If you play a Ranger right, a Ranger is a good, solid B class character. Maybe even lower end of A tier if you play the right Path Ranger. Especially now with Drake Wardens and stuff like that, you've got the ability to get an animal companion that upscales with you. There's a lot of potential there. So I don't know if this is based off of 2024 rules or not, but quite honestly, I think that they did the Ranger dirty in 2014. They tried to make up for it with some new subclasses and stuff like that. Mm. I've never thought that the Ranger should be a D tier character. I think that's, I don't know. Personally, I don't agree.
So the way that I see this tier list too is like, number one, how easy is it for like a new player to be successful with them, and also like that kind of how I rank stuff usually is like I'll rank like if let's say a character or a class or whatever in a game is really really good, but like it's a specialized character where it's like You have to know how to pilot this character and do these things to make it good. So like I would rank that on average lower because the average player is not going to be able to pilot that character that well. So the average experience is worse. But D tier for Ranger, bro? Like what?
Yeah.
No way.
The character that most people that I've noticed, most people have an issue with is the rogue. When do I get my sneak attack? When does that get triggered? When can I hide? When do I get my bonus action? Um, I think most people have the most issues with the rogue as a new player. Um, I personally kind of have a belief that, as a DM, you kind of coach that player along for, the first few months or what have you until they kind of get more comfortable with the character. People have to grow into a character. So I think that that's probably one of the ones that people have the most problem with is the rogue because there's just so much to that character, so much versatility.
Yep.
So let's talk about some card games. You got some Magic the Gathering.
Fine, dude. Fine. Now listen, I like Spider-Man. Spider-Man's great, and the Avatar set for Magic was I don't give a crap. Well, sorry, I don't really care that much about Avatar the anime. I just don't care. But as far as the cards, the balance, the draft experience, the Avatar set was good. However, I'm so excited that Magic Wizards of the Coast is giving Magic an in-universe set again. Fine. I mean, it feels like forever. It was like Aether Drifter, I feel like. Well, I guess it was Edge of Eternities, but still, long time. Finally getting an in-universe set for Magic, and it's going to be Lorwyn Eclipsed. Lorwyn is like one of the realms or planes, whatever you want to call it, that is... People love this realm. It's a very cool, like... Every good character has like an evil counterpart character inside of this realm. It's very fantasy, very Dungeons and Dragons. It is a realm that a lot of people like. That set is coming out on the 23rd. Pre-release is next week. The Tap and Roll game shop near me has a pre-release event where you could play and win some packs. I'm gonna try to make it and go there. If I do, I will share pictures and stuff. Very excited. Nothing is as far like I don't like to look at spoilers, so I didn't look at any of the cards that have been released. I want to see it myself. So I don't want to like direct people to spoilers, but I will say, I have a link that I'll drop to the site. You can check it out. They do have some card art on there that I've shared before. They have some new ones I can share in this video. Very excited for that. So, Lorwyn coming in like 2 weeks.
Good, excellent. Let's talk about some Kickstarter and some backer kit news. Steve Jackson Games. Most of you who've been around for a while are familiar with Steve Jackson and Steve Jackson Games. Back in the '80s, he did Toons TTRPG. So basically cartoon characters. Think knockoffs of like Bugs Bunny, Daffy Duck, things like that. That was a lot of fun. I played it a couple times back when it first came out in the '80s. It was fun. It was silly. It was kind of just kind of a comedy kind of game, but it was fun. But I was surprised to see that they showed up on Backer Kit recently, and they're doing a Toons second edition. So think Saturday morning silliness and the kinds of escapades you find in a tune or a melody, and that's what you've got. So he has got that coming out soon. We'll have a link for that in the show notes for you guys to check out if you're interested. I think that's a great idea to get younger people or people that don't want the heaviness of like a D&D or a Pathfinder or something like that. They want to play something a little more lighthearted. That could be fun, and it might get some new people into the hobby. So,
not to stay on that too much, but we have talked about that exact kind of thing before, where these games that don't necessarily fit into a dark, gritty like style that we like to play all the time. They're just as important to get other people outside of the hobby into the hobby. And also fun, even for us to have a fun little side game where we jump in there and kind of, take a load off and have some fun,
Yeah, every once in a while you need a palate cleanser. You can only save Faerun so many times before you want to just hit somebody with a large hammer or run Wile E. Coyote off a cliff, right? So, speaking of Kickstarter news, Warhammer, the Old World RPG Player's Book. We talked about this about a month or so ago. We backed this on Kickstarter. I was one of the first people to back it. I'm super excited for it. I played the Warhammer TTRPG, their medieval war TTRPG way back in the day. I've still got a copy of the book on my shelf, which is another one of those books that hasn't been touched in forever. Because can't find anybody who wants to play it. They all want to play D&D, but fun game, and they have basically redone it And I was surprised to see that the book is already going to start shipping sometime in the first quarter of 2026. I just backed that like a month or two ago, and they're already going to be shipping books out in the next month or two. So pretty excited about that.
Mm-hmm.
I've got to check and see where my PDF is because I haven't got a notification of that yet. But I definitely want to get into the PDF, share that with the apprentice because he's pretty interested in the old world too. So
Oh yeah.
we will share some more news for that as that news develops. So be looking for that sometime before summertime this year for us to basically give you a breakdown and a review of it. Steven's got some news about movies, games, and pop culture.
Yeah. Just shout out to the Expanse universe, which we've talked about many times before. Looks like they're getting a game by Owlcat Games, who's made a lot of fun games before. Looks to be a single player RPG. Not a lot is out yet, but the screenshots look really good. There is a Steam page, so I will share the link and some pictures around here somewhere. Um, you know, we've talked about kind of like the sci-fi letdown in games in general. I mean, you got like No Man's Sky. Eve is like 15, 20 years old now. Star
Yeah.
Citizen is literally an urban legend. It's people are just dropping money into that game, and it's like not even out. Starfield is apparently getting some huge overhaul patch, but like, how much is that really going to overhaul? The game, in my opinion, was kind of boring. Half the planets you couldn't go to, and even if you could, it was like one space
And
station on it.
is that too little, too late?
Yeah,
You know?
you know, I'll, maybe I'll try it, maybe I won't, but The Expanse is a great. If you haven't seen the show, the universe is great. The world building is fun. It's like just believable enough where it's like you could relate to the characters. It's not so far fetched that you just feel completely excluded from the plot. So I'm excited. Any chance I can get to have a fun sci-fi game, I'm gonna take it. I was surprised. The Expanse IP. I know it's a relatively well received, or it's a really well received show, but to have a game coming out, I was kind of shocked. So hopefully it's great.
Yeah, that's definitely worth looking forward to. So I'll definitely check it out when it comes out. So
Yep.
we're going to jump into our closings because, like we said, we've got a Session Zero to get to here in about 15 minutes.
Yep.
So we've got some fun questions.
Yeah.
Looks
Yeah.
like the first one that Steven's got for me is TTRPG or video game hot take. Steven,
Yeah.
what's yours?
So my hot take, and again, I'm not going to go too much into the details now, but Dad and I are kind of having fun, like theory crafting a simple TTRPG, for fun. Really, it's a brain exercise. Um,
Mhm.
I'll say my hot take, and it's probably not that hot, but for me it kind of seems hot. Is I think games are too complicated. I think every TTRPG that I look at, almost all of them, I'm like already disconnected before I even get through like the Wikipedia page about it.
Right.
I think I do think like games like Shadow Dark. It's like why is that like not a thing now? Why is there not a bunch of simple, easier to just get into? It almost like for Josh, it took me like 6 months to convince him to play, and a lot of
Hmm.
that is because of the reputation that tabletop games have in general. I think a lot of people
Right.
see a game like Warhammer, which isn't a traditional tabletop game; it's really a war game. But they see stuff
Hmm.
like that, and they see Pathfinder, and they see all this stuff, and they're like, "Dude, I can't. I don't have the time to get into this." Um,
Yeah.
in my opinion, I think games. I don't want to say dumbed down because that's like derogatory, but I do think games have just gotten way too explained.
Complicated.
Yeah, and like in my opinion, a tabletop game, a role playing game, is just that. It is a role playing game. Me and my dad could sit down and we could come up with rules on a Word document and we could play a game together because he has knowledge of a
Sure.
dungeon master and I'm a player and we could talk back and forth and figure out how do we want movement to work? How do we want this to work? And we could do it without a player's handbook, without anything. And it's like at what point is like writing every rule, writing every interaction, writing everything down and giving a player an $80 3,000 page player's handbook, like when is it enough? So my hot
Right.
take, and that's part of why I started this theory crafting of, man, can I just build a very simple tabletop game for fun, theoretically, and have Dad and I just kind of compile notes on it. And really, what stirred that up is, me trying to get my friends into this, going, dude, I promise it's going to be better. I promise it's going to be fun. And they're just like, I don't know. Um,
Well, I think I have to agree with you. I think that games started out super simple. Um, D&D First Edition, when Dungeons and Dragons first came out, it was just basically a little leaflet book. It was just
mhm,
the little brown books that were put out by Gary Gygax and Dave Arneson. They were
mhm,
just 30 or 20 or 30 pages, small print.
That's what it should be, man.
Not a lot of heavy rules.
Nope.
So you didn't have to memorize a lot, and it basically. But the problem was, as the community grew, and you got more people involved, they started questioning. Well, why can't I do this? What if I want to do that? And there's no rule for it. And DMs, a good DM will adapt and say, okay, we'll make it happen. Here's how we'll do it.
Yep.
But the problem is you're going to get those rules lawyers who sit down at the table and say, well, there's not a rule for it. How do I know that you're making the right call? So they made it more complicated. They started building rules for everything. Everything that somebody brought up, they had to make a rule for it.
Yep.
So D&D, Advanced Dungeons & Dragons, first edition, became a lot more complicated. You had a Dungeon Master's book, you had a player's book. So between the two, you got 300 plus pages of rules and things of that nature. A perfect example, I was listening to, as I was driving, I was listening to a YouTuber who goes by, I believe it's Wingless Valkyrie. And he is a dungeon master, and he plays a lot of different games. And he brought up a perfect point because he was talking about Daggerheart. Is it the game for him? And he decided it's not for him because he felt like the spotlight mechanic was a little broken, and players who are more introverted can get lost in the shadows because of the fact that it allows any player, when the players have the spotlight back on them during combat, you don't have an initiative. Whoever wants to go first just goes first. I'm going to go first, and here's what I'm going to do. So if you have somebody who's extroverted, who are very assertive, very talkative, they're going to take over. And then those people, and I know some people who are very introverted, who are very quiet at the table, they're going to pull back and let those people take over, and then they don't get a turn. Or maybe when their turn comes along, it doesn't really matter anymore.
The value's gone,
The value's gone. They don't get an opportunity to step into the spotlight.
I think we had that conversation where it's like Daggerheart on the surface seems like a more player-friendly game, but in my opinion, it is and it very much isn't, depending on what part of it you're looking at.
It is for players who are, I feel that players who have experience and know how role-playing games work, it's great. I don't think it's a good introductory
beginner-friendly game. Yeah.
And he brought up a perfect point because he held up 2 rule books. One of them was Daggerheart, and the other one, I can't remember what it was, but both of these books were thick, 300 plus pages. And then he held up 2 other books that were, less than 100 pages. And if I'm picking up a book and I know that I'm going to have to run it, and I'm not familiar with the system, I'm going to be a little intimidated by a 400-page book.
Of course, yeah.
But if I see a book that's, oh wow, this is all I need, and look, it's got an adventure in it, it's got all the rules I need, it's got all the mechanics, and it's 80 pages, and it's $20 as opposed to $60 for a 400-page rule book. That I feel like I'm back in college having to read a book for a book report in order to get through it on the game. So I can understand how that's intimidating to new players. So I definitely agree with you there. I think that the complexity can be off-putting to new people. Like Josh, perfect example. He's never played a D&D game before. And you're telling him, you got to have the player's handbook, and the player's handbook.
For the record, he is only doing this because you're my dad. Like no joke. He was like, I'll try this because he's your dad, and he does this like for real. Like he gets paid to do this, and he can help me, and like I feel comfortable with that. If you didn't exist, he would never play.
And the problem is, there's a lot of people out there that
it's the biggest problem. And in my opinion, the other biggest problem, and I feel like it's so weird because video games have figured this out. Every popular game right now, Arc Raiders, Fortnite, Warzone, all of them. One thing they all have in common. Number one, they're the most played games on the internet. Think about your mobile games too. Think about those. What is the other thing all of them have in common? They are free to play, right? So imagine being like, dude, trust me, Dungeons & Dragons is so dope. But you have to buy a $70 player's handbook. You have to buy this, you have to buy this, you have to buy this, and then you can play. And it's like, I mean, unless you're borrowing the books from somebody, like Josh was, when I found a PDF for him to share with me to play this game, he was on Amazon looking at rule books already because he's like, oh dang, I guess I have to buy a rule book. And it's like, that's another barrier that like video games have figured out a way around it. Well, let's sell them all the stuff they need to get into it. We're confident in our product. We know that if we sell this to them, they will go, ooh, that's really fun, and then they're gonna buy the extra stuff.
Right.
So like, and this is again purely hypothetical, but like if I was to sell a TTRPG, the one that I'm theory crafting myself, if I was to put that out somewhere for people to get, the like a short player's handbook, um, a, if there is a monster's manual, a monster manual, and then
Mm-hmm.
maybe some like little written up like campaigns if you were to play without a DM. Like, oh, here's an idea for you to play like a solo adventure, and here's how you could play the monsters against you. All of that would be free for you to just get. Because
Yep.
I think like people should be able to go, this looks fun. I'm gonna play this with my buddies tonight. And if you have fun, then go to my Kickstarter or go to Dad's, whatever, and go to the people's Kickstarter and buy some
Yeah.
new modules. Oh, you know what? We
Yeah.
had a lot of
Like
fun with an intro campaign. Let me buy a new chapter. There you go.
a perfect example. A perfect example. Uh, WoTC did it with their D&D starter set. It's a
Yeah.
box set. It's got an adventure in it. It's got the basic rules,
Mm-hmm.
the basic bare bones of what you need to build a character. And I think it was like $25.
Mm-hmm.
It's a very bare bones box set. You as a group could all go in together and buy it. Cost you a couple bucks each. You open it up, you play the game. Okay, do we like this?
Mm-hmm.
It's a $25 investment. It's not a huge investment.
Mm-hmm.
Did we like it? If we do like it, now we start making our investment.
Yeah.
I think what a lot of people should do is do a quick start rule set.
Mm-hmm.
It's maybe 5 or 6 pages, maybe 10. Give you some basic information.
Yep.
Give you a couple of pre-generated characters. Here's some pre-generated characters.
Mm-hmm.
Here's a little simple one session game that you can play.
Mm-hmm.
Just to kind of get the feel for combat, role play, stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Do you like it? Okay. At the end, here's a QR code where you can go to my website and you can purchase the rules, and the rules are $20.
Yeah, like that. That's exactly like I would do everything through Kickstarter, and you could go to the Kickstarter page and be like, "Hey, click this and download a PDF of the simple rules and a couple like pre-made characters for your team, and then like a short campaign where it's like a one night. Hey, we go here, we do this, we fight this monster. Did you have fun? Oh, if you scan this QR code, you get 5% off, and you can go to get back to the Kickstarter and get your next adventure or your next handbook or whatever for 5%, 10% off." And it's like because that completely destroys the other biggest barrier of entry, in my opinion, is number one, it's too much. It's just too daunting to get into. And number two, if you get past that and you're like, okay, I'm going to buckle down, I'm going to read the rules, I'm going to read the books, I'm going to do all of it. Oh, it's going to be another $100+.
Yeah.
On top of finding more people to play with, on top of maybe driving somewhere, on top of all of it. I mean, on all of it.
Yeah, there's a lot to go. There's a lot to coordinate, and it can be daunting. So
yeah,
I try to make it as simple for people as I can. I always bring my books with me. Hey, you don't have a book? Not a problem. Here's my book. Borrow it.
Yeah, I just think that's a DM like the rule book should set a sandbox, right? There should be these walls on way far away over here, and then the players are in the middle of the sandbox, and the DM is kind of directing traffic in the sandbox. But sometimes I feel like the more complex the rules are, the sandbox is smaller and smaller and smaller. The walls are right here now, and the players are all shoulder to shoulder right here, and it's like the sandbox should be big. The DM basically is acting as Wizards of the Coast. Like they say what goes and what does not in this campaign because they are designated the Dungeon Master. So it's like that's not in the rule book. Let's talk about how that works. Okay, cool, boom, and there you go. It doesn't have to be a rule. Part of the fun is making the game. Every game should be unique. Every game you shouldn't go from game to game and have it, seem similar to a past game. In my opinion, if that's the way it is, it's failing. You're not doing it right.
Yeah. Agreed. Let's get into the next question. If you could ban one, I'm assuming this is for me. If you could ban one canon or official D&D spell, what would it be and why? I can tell you right now, the first spell I would banish, without a doubt, would be Silvery Bards.
I think you've brought that one up before.
I've brought it up before. It's the one spell I dislike at my table. It is available to bards, wizards, I believe sorcerers, and so it's available to so many classes. And it's bad enough that it basically is kind of like a temporal change up, right?
Mm-hmm.
If I roll a natural 20 as a DM to hit your character, if you are within range and you see that this is happening, you could say, okay, DM, as a reaction, I'm casting Silvery Bards. Now you have to re-roll that dice and take the lower of the two rolls. Okay, that sucks. But that's not all. Wait, there's more. Then I can also, as caster of the spell, for a reaction, I can give somebody advantage on their next roll.
What level is that?
That's like you know what? I think it's right off the top of my head. I don't remember. I think it's second or third level spell.
Second or third level.
it's like, hold on, I'll tell you. I'm looking it up now. Yeah, I know, guys. I should know this. I'm a DM, right? Well, I don't like the spell, so I
No,
don't
you
normally
you
allow it.
rule it out of your campaign, so you don't play with it, so you
Yeah.
don't know.
So it is a first level enchantment. It's
First
first
level?
level. Yes.
How is that not like best in slot? Like, how do you not just get that every time, like every single time?
Well, the last campaign I played, my paid campaign, where I had 6 players at the table,
Oh,
3 of the players at the table had silvery bars.
that's
3 of them.
disgusting. Yeah, I mean, to me,
So for first level spell
mm,
with a range of 60 feet, and it's a reaction. I'm sorry, it's a bonus action.
can you cast it on another
You
party member?
you can basically take it, cast it. I think this might be the 2024 version, but the 2014 version, basically you can force a reroll,
Yeah.
and you can force it on an attack roll or a saving throw. Let's say that you cast a spell on a creature and you want that spell to go off. I roll my saving throw. I make it. Nope. Silvery barbs, roll again. And then I'm going to give advantage to somebody I can see within 60 feet of me. Up to and including myself if I want to.
And you can you cast that silvery barbs on a party member, or is it just you?
Yes. Well, you can cast
See,
on a party
I
member.
mean that's crazy. Like it's already good, but like that's like
It's
broken. Yeah.
It's broken, and that is the spell that I would ban from my.
Well, I was about to
As a
say
matter of
we'll
fact,
just agree that we're not going to have that.
Yeah, after my last campaign, I will not allow that at my tables anymore, because it just, when 2 and 3 people were using it.
You can't play. You can't literally can't play
combat.
DM. You literally can't play your character.
Well, you could, but you were severely hampered.
Well, and that's another thing too. I actually wrote this down outside of these notes, but I wanted to kind of touch on it. And this is pretty much the end of this podcast. But I think a lot of people kind of forget that the DM is also a player, and it's easy to kind of forget that, but because like they're like this looming, they're playing the whole world, but like they're also playing. So like I think it's super important that not just players but also WoTC in general is like, hey, you know, the DM's also role playing a character, playing a lot of characters, and to have a spell that's just like counters plots entirely, that's pretty strange. So anyway,
I agree. I think it's very important, and I said this during session 0. I'm here to have fun too as a DM.
yeah,
So it's just as important for a DM to have a good time as the players to have a good time.
yep,
And it's not players versus the DM.
nope,
It's players versus the scenario. The DM is merely kind of driving that narration.
yeah,
So I always tell players, it's not me versus you. If I roll a natural 20 to hit your character, I'm not trying to kill your character. It's simply the dice.
yeah,
And that's never my intent. It's never to TPK
yeah,
or
of
to ruin
course.
somebody's night.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. I mean, you're providing a service. You're not an enemy, right? And then also like everyone's telling a cohesive narrative. Everyone's just talking, like saying a different part, right? So it's like,
right.
yeah, the whole if something's not having fun, even if you're the one or like your character or the enemy is the one that caused it, it's not like you're like, oh man, I want you to have a bad time. Your
Right.
whole job is to have people have a memorable time. Does that mean that sometimes bad stuff happens? Yes, but like that's part of it, right? So
I mean, it happens, but even bad things can help drive a story.
yep,
A character death can help drive a story.
yep,
A character missing a role and causing a battle to go against them can give you opportunities for a good narrative.
mm-hmm.
Now the players have to bounce back, lick their wounds, come up with a way to get back into fight and beat this guy, or run away and live to fight another day. So there's different ways. It's not we're on a football field. This is the Super Bowl, and if I lose this fight, I'm done. I retire and I go home.
Yeah, I mean, you think about like famous, like Lord of the Rings, man. They didn't win every fight. They lost most of them, actually. So like that's kind of part of it. And like I even wrote plot points into my character background that I'm sure are going to cause probably bad things to happen in the game. But that's part of the fun. It's like, when is this going to happen? How can I counteract it? It's a disadvantage. How can I play around it? I think that's part of the fun. But anyways, that's the end. This is going to be. We're shooting for 45. We got to 53. That's okay. We're shooting for shorter videos. So I'll let Dad kind of sing us home here.
All right, guys. Thank you for tuning in. Hope you stuck with us through the whole thing. If you did, we really appreciate your support. Smash that like button. If you're not already a subscriber, please consider subscribing to the channel. It really helps. And share this video with friends and neighbors and people that are in the community. We'd like to get our name out there, have some people join and get engaged and talk to us, and let us know what you'd like to see on the MazeCast. We think that this is all about community, and we want your guys' involvement as well. So with that, we're going to leave you guys to it. Keep your sword arm free, and until the next time we meet, stay safe, and we'll see you back here next time in the maze.
Bye, everybody.
Good night, everybody.